Let's go.
Dr. Rosie Milligan, one of the most sought-after speakers on the circuit today. Her live internet talk show, Express Yourself, is the most provocative, thought-provoking, and talked-about radio show on the internet. There's no holds barred, and Dr. Milligan puts the B in bold. She brings it every Tuesday live at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dr. Rosie has been proclaimed the most provocative female writer of the century. Her books include Satisfying the Black Man and Black Woman Sexually Made Simple, Why Black Men Choose White Women, and the book Nigga Please. These books have raised eyebrows across the country. She has authored 21 books and published 350 titles for authors nationwide. Check Dr. Rosie out at drrosie.com for her books, articles, and archives of her internet talk show. Sit at the feet of wisdom. Dr. Milligan is indeed a timekeeper and scorekeeper. She is the clock, calendar, and almanac for Black America. You need to hear her.
Top of the morning here in sunny California. You are listening to the Express Yourself Hour. I am your host, Dr. Rosie Milligan, coming to you live with nothing but straight talk. Yeah, that's how we do it around here. Nothing but straight talk. My co-hosts are the wonderful Mr. Keith Swanson, the AI man. You guys know that's how I introduce him. He really introduced us to AI. Before I knew much about it, people started calling me saying, is Keith really real? Is he AI? That's when I started looking into AI. Now I'm just going teaching AI, doing everything with AI, loving it, and saying to people, AI won't replace you, but somebody who knows AI will. And that somebody's like me, because I'm on top of it, all over it, you guys, and all under AI.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Keith. How you doing?
Good morning, Dr. Rosie. I'm doing good. And if you want my personal NFT, call Shawana Bordenay. She has a whole line.
Yes.
Wow, you guys.
Yes.
Shawana is
yes,
my
indeed.
Yeah, she is the real estate guru. She buy houses, sell houses, lease houses. She does everything to houses. And she's our biblical scholar. Yeah. She always bring in the biblical aspect of everything we're talking about. So it's going to be interesting as to how she's going to do her biblical application to our topic today. And she's all over the country. In fact, where are you, Shawana?
I'm in Florida. I'm in Florida right now. I'll be in Atlanta next week.
She's all over
Yes.
the place, girl. There's no limits. There's no boundary for her when it comes to real estate. She wants houses all over.
All over. So what? If you have any all over, you to call me.
Give
My
her
number,
the number.
my number is 818-201-6565. Once again, that's 818-201-6565. Regardless of what the condition is, regardless of the location, I am interested. Please call me. And even if it's a probate, I buy probates as well. So
Wow, okay.
let me know. Yes.
Okay, you guys heard it. You heard it straight from her mouth, okay? And, I mean, she's all over the United States. The girl is doing it. That's all I can say. So we have a great show for you today. I know everybody expects us to come on here talking about Trump and Biden, because that's what everybody's talking about. But while all this stream smoke is going on, folks, y'all better get from the White House to your Black House. To whatever color your house is, you better start looking at what's happening with you, yourself, and your family. Because of all this stuff that we see, a lot of it just an illusion. We don't understand it, never will. We don't get to facts. They only show us and tell us what they want us to know, and immediately just totally blindfolds us because we just so set in our ways and how we think. So, folks, don't get caught up from this is July. Don't go between July and November. Yeah, the election's in November, right, Keith?
Yeah. Yep.
Don't
Yeah.
spend the rest of these months inundated with what's going on with Biden and Trump.
No,
Folks,
no.
please look at what's going on with your parents, your spouse, your children, your sister and brother, your family, and your community, and you yourself. You know, you should spend this time making sure that you are mentally and physically well. And I'm going to say that again, mentally, because a lot of people are not mentally well because they're so stressed out because of the economy, because of how they see the future. They feel that their future rests in the hand of whoever's going to be elected for November. Folks, that's sick thinking. That is sick thinking. Neither one of these men, they are not God. They are not in control of you or the universe. So please, please understand where your power lay, the power that you have to control your destiny, your surrounding, and your mental stability and your health. Folks, it's in your hand. So today, we're not talking about Trump. We're not talking about Biden. But we're talking about something very important. We're talking about setting boundaries with your parent, your spouse, your children, siblings, and friends. We're talking about setting boundaries. Setting boundaries. Protecting your mental health from overload is essential. Protect your mental health, you guys, from overload is essential because most people right now, they're on overload with all what's taking place in the media. They are on overload. So families, let me underscore this, families should be first. Yes, families should be first, but not at any cost. That's why we're talking about boundary setting. Not at any cost. You can't look at my spouse is first, my parents are first at any cost when it becomes detrimental to your physical and mental health. Like we talked about last week, when to unplug from toxic relationships. Now, the absence of boundaries, love can become toxic. You can love somebody, you can love them to life, you guys. But I'm telling you, if you don't have boundaries, it can become toxic because they will run all over you. You'll have that love-hate relationship. I love you because you're my mother. I love you because you're my child. But I hate you. I'm going to say that. Y'all know you got some folks out there, some of you all stand with some husband and wives, and you actually hate them because there has been no boundaries set in those relationships. They make you sick. They make you sick. Y'all got some husband and wives that make you sick. Children, siblings, parents make you sick. You must learn to say no to those you love and feel good about saying no. That's what we're talking about today, setting boundaries. So first, Keith, I want to explain and talk about boundaries. The absence of boundaries tends to bankrupt relationships. It tends to bankrupt relationships. I've heard husband and wife say, I heard a man once at church say, I've been married 35 years. Me and my wife have never had a disagreement. I'm saying to myself, well, somebody in that relationship ain't necessary. I'm going to repeat that. My daddy said, tongue and teeth fall off. You 35 years, you never had a disagreement, you never had an argument. Somebody is bankrupt in that relationship. Why am I saying they're bankrupt? Because they're holding their feelings, they're not expressing themselves. They're either intimidated or they're going along to get along, or they've been socialized through their religious belief that you're supposed to be submissive. And a lot of people don't know what submissive is. So that's how they bankrupt relationship. Well, you're supposed to be submissive. The man is the head of what? Okay. Now, I mean, we twisted, we mixed up from a Christian standpoint, and that's what helped keep to bankrupt a lot of these relationships because people think, well, I want to go by the Bible. The Bible says I need to be submissive. Whatever he says, go. So, no, there's no argument. There's no challenge. Folks, boundary is very important. So we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to start out. I used to always start out doing all the talk, but I'm just going to ask. I will give my point on boundary and setting with parents, and I'm going to let my co-host talk about how they feel about it, and then you all can call in and tell us how you feel about it. Because when it comes to parents, most people don't think they need to set boundaries with parents, but you really do, because they can get out of control. I know I've gotten out of control. I've had to be put in my place. Oh yeah,
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
I got out of control telling my son-in-law what
Oh,
what
oh, oh,
he
okay.
could do and what he could not do. And I want you to understand this. I know this your wife, but she's my daughter first. I knew her
Yep.
before you.
Amen.
Oh yeah, I knew her.
Amen.
Oh, okay.
So let me.
That's
She
the
gonna
Bible
always.
coming in there.
Oh yeah.
Amen.
She gonna always be my daughter, but she may not always be your wife. Oh yeah, I told him off real
Ooh,
good.
Exactly.
ooh,
I told mine too.
ooh. Oh my goodness. Okay.
But my
I said,
daughter had
you
to.
better watch yourself.
That's right. But my daughter had to put me in my place. Well, Mom, I really know what I want in this relationship. When it goes overboard, when it's more than what makes me comfortable, I know how. After all, Mom, you raised me, so I know how to set boundaries. I know
Yes.
when a person is taking it too far. I know if something takes place that makes my self-worth become unvalidated. So I don't need you to tell my husband, and I was pissed, okay, but she was right. I don't need you to tell my husband how he needs to deal with me. I think I'm capable, Mother, of doing that. I think we've already had this conversation. It will excuse the hell out of me, but anyway, I went somewhere and sit myself down.
It's bringing back memories.
In other words, he took her in the back. Do you want me to talk to her, or are you gonna talk to her?
Yeah. So you have to set boundaries with parents because you are the child, and I don't care how old you get. We still see you as our babies.
Yes.
I'm telling you, we still see you because we'll go, look, I brought him in the world. I can take him out. This is my child.
Yeah.
I carried her 9 months. We go there. We go there. I carried her 9 months. I mean, who asked you to, anyway. Could have been an accident. I don't know. So you carry somebody 9 months. You're not in control of their life the rest of their life. So it's important to set boundaries with your parent. They need to know when to step in and when to step out. And you do it in a loving manner. Now, I'm going to say a loving manner when you can. Now, sometimes you have to step out of loving with some of these parents. You just have to almost go street with them because they are so far out of tune and they think you should always do just what they say. They want you to treat your husband or your wife the same way that they deal with their husband and wife. But we're in a new day and there's a new way, and they're not happy sometimes themselves, but they want you to follow the same pattern that they follow. So you have to set boundaries. Mama, this is when I appreciate your advice when I ask you, and I appreciate it when I don't ask you. When you observe something, even in a way that I'm rearing my children, I could be going wrong. You have wisdom. I respect your wisdom. But I need to let you know where the boundaries are. So what you guys think?
Right? You have to. There has to be some kind of separation. At some point, I try to do this with my children from the time they were like really about 7 or 8, okay? At some point, they're going to have to separate from me. So I started giving them autonomy from me starting then, little by little. So by the time they got to be teenagers and adults, okay, they come to me with a problem. I said, did you get yourself into it? Yes. Now you have to get yourself out of it because you made the decision. Now, when you went with that guy or you had the baby by the guy, did you call me? Nope. Figure it out.
And see, men see it really different, and you can see that from what Shawana responds and my response. Because we feel like, look, I remember my daughter went away to Xavier. She was there, and this teacher cursed her, and she called me crying because she wasn't used to that.
Okay.
I called down there to that college, and they said, well, he's just like that, but he's not going to be like that with Pam. I don't curse her, and he's not going to curse her. And let me tell you something, Mr. President of the college. All it means, the next seat on the airplane, that means I can get on it and be there. Because that's my child. Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you have to. There are times when you need to step in. The thing is, it needs to be something that's necessary.
But you need to know when. Now, if they call you, see, she called me. And when I heard her crying, That's when it's time to step in. When
Okay.
you see your child hurting, when you see them crying, if they come to you crying, Keith, then
hmm
you got to now.
I,
It's time for
it,
me to do some talking.
but my
But you,
first question is, okay, first of all, tell me what you did first,
hmm
and then we'll work on it. Okay. And we'll see what you did first, and then what you did, and then we'll ascertain what the other person. Because I know you, I don't know the other
hmm
person, so I need to know
Hmm.
what you did, and then if it's something that's in bounds where I need to step in, I'll step in.
uh-huh. Keith, you remind me when I was growing up once, I said to my stepmother, well, I came to my dad. I said, Daddy, I said, I washed dishes last night, and she's trying to make me wash dishes again tonight.
Okay.
He said to me, he said, baby, come and sit on my lap. I'm thinking I'm getting ready to get some consolation.
hmm
He said, did you eat last night, baby? I said, yeah. He said, well, did you eat tonight? Yeah. He said, well, I'll tell you what. Anytime that you don't eat and she make you wash dishes, you let me know. I jumped up out his lap. I was so mad. I said, what kind of consolation is this?
Hey, that works.
It does
You
You
work.
know
know
what I realized, Dr. Rosie,
what?
is that when we get involved in a relationship
hmm
between two people, they'll be arguing and we want to assert ourselves and let people know this is not happening. A
Yeah.
lot of times when two people get into arguments, they can make up,
Yeah.
but your relationship will always be messed up a little. So you got to stay out of it unless it's really, really necessary. That's the time that you're supposed to come in and
hmm
assert yourself, not before.
hmm
Because if you assert yourself before, you're the one that is looking like the bad person because they're going to make up, but you
Yeah.
guys aren't.
Yeah.
It's going to be
And,
hard for you two to make up.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
So,
you get older and need to move in with them, and they remember what you said to them, right, Shawan?
hmm Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
A comedian once said he knew he was grown when he realized his mother was his father's woman.
Wait a minute, now explain that one to me.
In other words, he realized what he saw as his mother was actually his father's woman. In other words, just like another woman would be my woman, and my
Yeah,
child will see the same way.
yeah,
Okay. In other words, basically, my relationship with a woman is the same as my mother had with my father. Okay.
got it,
Not
got it.
they're human beings. They're not perfect, and the reason they're there is because they want to be. You got to realize that she's human. Once you see your mother is
Right.
human, it changes a lot. And
Oh,
sometimes,
that's
I have to remind my mother sometimes, because she remarried my father, and sometimes she get to fuss about him and say, "Wait a minute,
after
ain't,
she remarried him.
she
She,
remarried him?" I said, "Wait a minute, ain't that your name on that paper?"
Hmm.
And she looks
see,
at me cross-eyed.
you see, I'm telling. See, men are from Mars and women are.
Oh,
Cause
yeah.
see, men just don't. That's why I think men are much better at rearing their sons and maybe even their daughters because they. It's something about them that
It's
they're more
pragmatic.
objective. Really,
Yeah,
women don't like to hear me talk
yeah,
like that. But
yeah.
they are more objective and they don't baby them as much. And I think they look at it in a different perspective. Look at what Keith said. Didn't you sign on that paper?
Yeah.
Shawana, what would you say? We've been all up in it. Yeah, what he did this time. I don't know why you got back with him in the first place.
Yeah.
You gonna let him do that?
Hmm.
Come on, Shawana. Let's talk about
You
how
know what? I
men
think the
see
best
things and
way,
women.
I have to say, the best way to communicate when you're dealing with couples and
hmm
the couples are arguing with each other
hmm
and you want to get in and get involved,
hmm
it's better to have a sit down. Let's sit down and let's discuss this as
hmm
opposed to argue and keep the argument going. Sit
Yeah.
down, let's discuss the pros and cons and see if we can work it out. And if you can't work it out, then of course, yeah, you can separate. But I think a sit down is entitled at this particular point because we don't do that. We don't do that as families. Sit down and let's have a discussion. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of times that happens. I know my best friend, her and her husband was going to get a divorce one time.
hmm
And she says, yeah, we're thinking about getting a divorce, so we're going to meet with our parents and we're having a sit down. They're still together to this day, like
Mm.
for 36 years, almost 40 years.
Right.
But they had a sit down. They stopped it, and they actually was able to get through it. So it's not really about arguing all the time. It's about sitting down and discussing it because if there's an issue, it can be resolved.
Yes.
But it's how you resolve it is what the problem is.
And that shows the importance of wisdom. You brought up something so important. When couples understand that their parents have been here for a while, they know something. So when you can come and sit down with your parents, someone have the mic open, please.
Yeah. You
Please
had a lot of
mute
feedback.
yourself. Yeah, mute yourself, or they're gonna have to hang up on you. So, yeah, they realize that when you can come and sit down with your parents, I believe a lot of marriages would have been saved if they had gone to talk to their parent, particularly when there's infidelity involved, and you think this is the worst thing that can happen, and you go and your parents can sit down and talk to you about that, and they may tell you, well, we had some of that in our family. We overcame. Here's what we did. So it's really important, you know. And I think if the husband and the children are in some type of relationship argument, I think it's best to talk to each one of them separate. After you see what's going on, then you want to talk to your in-law and talk to your daughter. But I don't think you can try to just jump in it when they're arguing. You should never get in because, number one, Keith said, you don't know who started. You don't really know the whole story. You just came in the room and heard them arguing. So you really don't know what to say or what to do. So, you know, anyway.
I tell them, don't argue around me. Take that someplace else. Don't do it around me. I don't want to hear that mess. Okay, I've been in it. Don't do that around me. I tell my daughter that. She wanted to jump on her boyfriend, about something. I said, don't do that in front of me.
Because she knew you were going to jump in and help her. See, she was bad because you were there, okay?
Yeah. Don't do that in front of me. I said, if you want to talk to him respectfully, you can do that. But don't this name calling, that kind of, don't do that stuff in front of me. I said, I taught you better.
But that's why it's so important. That's why I just want to see more fathers, figures of somebody in the house because it make a difference. So we talked about setting boundaries with the parents. You really have to set boundaries. You can't let your mother or father just interfere in your relationships and make you be them because they want you to be them.
Of course,
and what would it be like if everybody's kids were like them? Wouldn't it be a jacked up world? They don't think like you. They don't want to be like you. They don't want to be in the profession you're in. They don't want to be in the business you're in.
They're going to be like you anyway. It doesn't matter because as soon as you look up, I said, I'm sorry that they got that part of me.
Right.
They're going to be like they're going to be like you anyway. So
don't try to mold them.
Don't even try to hold them. No.
Bottom line, folks, it's important to set boundaries with your parents. You really need to do that, but you need to do it respectfully. Set limits on giving advice. Mama, I appreciate you, but this issue right here, I can't take your advice because there's some things that you don't know that's going on. And I'm not, I don't want you to know the whole inside story. If you really knew the whole story, your advice would be different. So I'm not ready to involve you in my business like that. Does that sound good, you guys?
Yeah.
It sounds good to me.
All right. So we set boundaries with the parent. Now let's go to the spouse. How are we going to do this? Oh, my God. Setting boundaries with your spouse. There's some private issues, right? There's certain things that I don't want you involved in. And you need to lay those things out. Say you're in business. You don't need your husband up there trying to run your business, you want trying to tell your staff what to do. He's not the supervisor. He's not involved in your business. So you got to set boundaries about what he or she can do when it comes to your business. Set boundaries for your independence. This, honey, I appreciate you, but this I like to do by myself. I like to work on this without your help. Set boundaries when it comes to your personal space. Sometimes you need personal, private space. You may have someone who wants to, every place you go, if you go into a baby shower, whatever, they want to go. You have men who want to do that. But you need to set those boundaries. When I'm with my friend, or there's times when I'm going to my family, that I want to be with them without you. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what you guys think about that?
I think it's important to communicate your needs clearly on that. You have to let them know what you want and what you don't want. I mean, you do have to have your space, your own space.
Yeah.
And they have to understand that it's okay, and they can't blame you. They can't make you feel guilty for wanting that quiet time, because we all need it. That's what actually keeps the family healthy, the relationships healthy, is having that space. If you don't have that space, then, there may be friction after a while, because, you feel like you're missing something.
Yeah,
and you don't need the person to feel like you're missing something. And people have to realize, regardless of marriage, you are not the owner of that person because you married them.
Yeah.
You're not the owner. You are supposed to be able to let them be free and trust. You have to have trust in them.
Right.
And if you don't have trust, then there's an issue for you not having trust. You should have trust.
Right.
You shouldn't question that. Yeah.
Right. Let me give the number out. It's 310-928-7733. 310-928-7733. You can email us here at innerlight, INNER, innerlightradio@yahoo.com. We have two callers on the line. Caller, go ahead and unmute yourself. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and what you got to say. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning. This is Dr. Anthony. How are you guys?
Good morning.
Doing
How
good.
are you?
Great. Great.
Good. I'm doing good. I like this topic because I'm at a point in time in my life right now where I'm on both sides with my daughter. So to set boundaries for her, as her mother, and then also for me to establish some boundaries because she's going to be 26 next month, and I need to, like a baby bird, I think I need to kind of push her out there a little bit.
Okay.
Because she knows on any given day I have her back. All she got to do is call me, and it's a certain tone in her voice. I'll drop everything I'm doing. But I need to learn how to start backing off. I've done a little bit, but that's something that I'm working on right now in my life.
Okay. How come you're waiting so late to do it, though?
I won't say that I haven't done anything.
Okay.
I think I need to do more.
Okay.
She's still at home.
Okay.
And I told her very young that she could stay at home until she got married.
Okay.
And so just trying to help her establish herself as a businesswoman. So it's a lot of things I'm helping her do. But I do know that I need to back off sometimes and allow her to just be free from me.
Okay, so you got you have to allow her to fail, and that's the whole. That's one thing.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
that's
go ahead.
what we do. We cannot stand to see our children fail, so that make us get involved in their life, and it doesn't give them strength. I think we have to sometimes say, "Well, let me back off and be there for them when they fail." See, we don't see it that way, but sometimes we have to do that. Just be prepared to catch them when they're falling versus trying to prop them up that they don't ever fail. Because in life, there's going to be some failure. But now if it's going to be over detrimental, then you can kind of step in and give them some pointers. I'm not saying don't talk to them, but just don't take over their life. Because sometimes, believe it or not, they really can do without you.
And sometimes, this is something, that's why it helps to even coach, to coach sport, kids in sports, is because they're going to fail. And sometimes you can see it when they actually go out there. Oh, they're going to fail. They're going to lose this game, or they're going to fail. They're going to miss the shot, or they're going to get scared. Something's going to happen, right? And you know it. So you don't say anything. You just let them fail, okay? And then they come to you and they're all sad and maybe even crying and said, okay, so what did you learn from failing? Well, didn't you know I was going to fail? Yeah, that's why I let you fail. Yeah, so you can learn from it. It's called an experiment. Like I said, in chemistry, that's one thing I learned, right? You can have 1,000 failures. What did you learn from each experiment that you actually ran, that you failed upon? And you prove upon the next one, okay? Just like Shawana can tell you in sales, right? You learn from each failure. You're not going to get every sale, okay? What did you learn when that person told you no?
That's just like from a test that you may fail a test, but now you know the answers.
That's why I always tell
people.
It,
That's why I would tell
Back to
people
back,
to,
you're
it is
passing
so
now.
much,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it's so much better to let go of your kids and let them
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Because one thing's for sure, you don't want them to fail when you're not here anymore.
Yes.
You prefer
Now,
to
that's
let
a
them
good
fail while
point.
you're around where you can help them.
Yeah.
So I let my kids go at 2020. I told them, I said, you guys got to do some things.
Mm-hmm.
And they did, and they're doing very well. And I believe that it's because I let them fail. And I even let them fail and
Yeah.
let them figure it out. Because
Yeah.
sometimes they need to figure it out as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't let them figure it out, they'll never be able to
Yeah,
figure it out.
yeah,
You
yeah,
have
yeah.
to let them
Yeah.
go.
Yeah,
It's hard, though.
Phil Jackson used to say that, right? When he's like he won 11 championships. He said, "How'd you do it?" He said, "Sometimes you got to let them fail." In other words, sometimes they come over to you and say, "Well, you've practiced. We worked through the plays. Now go on the court and figure it out." I'm not going to say anything. Go figure it out.
And when they fail, don't come talking about, I told you so. Don't put
No.
that in their face because they already know that you told them so. But I want to emphasize, failing today is not like it was when my daughter was growing up, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Failing was totally different than the failing today.
Mm-hmm.
Failing today take much longer, much harder. Is more complicated and more detrimental on young people now because they don't have the option they had in the days that I was rearing my kids. So I want to throw that out there for the listeners who feel like that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna back, let it fail. Cause when they fall, I don't want them to think that.
You don't want to. You don't want a major fail. What you want to do
Right.
is let them fail a little bit at a time, right?
Right.
So they can learn from each mistake. Okay.
Right.
Instead of stepping in and try to prevent a mistake, sometimes sit back and let them make that mistake, and then when they made that mistake, come back and said, okay, what did you learn from that mistake? What should you have done better? Okay. What did I tell you the first time about doing this? You didn't believe me, but now guess what? Now you believe me. Okay.
Now, I'm going to come back, Dr. Andre, and ask you some questions about setting boundaries also with Pam. So I think stay on the line. We have another caller. Caller, go ahead. Tell us where you're calling from and what's your take on the topic. We're talking about setting boundaries with everybody, your parents, your spouse, your children, your siblings, and friends. It's important. Okay, go ahead. We have another caller on the line. Go ahead and give us your name. Okay, maybe the caller just want to listen. If she wants to jump in, he or she, just go ahead and do it. The number is 310-928-7733, 310-928-7733. We are talking about setting boundaries because not having boundaries can put you on a mental health overload. You become overloaded and the relationship will become totally bankrupt if there's not boundaries, because somebody's going to feel like they're abused in this relationship. Trust me, when boundaries are not set, somebody will not feel they're going to be abused in relationship. So we talked about boundaries with parents. We talked about with spouse, and Dr. Andre talked about it with children. You have to set boundaries. They need to feel safe, and there's understanding and limits. So you have to protect your physical, emotional, and behavior boundaries. You might just say to your mom, to your spouse, or to your children, look, I'm not going to be in a heated argument with you. If I'm talking, you have to let me finish my sentence, and then you come back at me with your answer. These are some real boundaries you need to set, because nothing worse. You're trying to talk to somebody. Nobody's hearing anybody. You're saying what you need to say to your child, your spouse, or your parent. Instead of them listening, they are gathering in their mind how they're going to come back in response to you. So they didn't hear nothing you said. So you have to set boundaries. If we can't sit and talk about it, then we're not going to have a conversation. When we can sit down and you let me finish my sentence, then you respond, then we can have this conversation. You guys, this is important to set this kind of limit when you're having dialogue with your parent, your spouse, or your children. Have any of you ever had that situation when nobody heard anybody, and later on, you bring the topic, well, oh, that's what you were saying?
Yeah,
that's what I was saying all the time, but you didn't hear me because you were not listening.
So funny.
You're listening to respond. Yeah, listening to respond.
You were going to say something, Shawana. Yeah, I'm not going to sit up and argue and talk to you, and I'm talking and you talking while that's wasting my time. I'm not going to do that. So you need to set those boundaries. This is how we are going to argue.
Right.
You need to set boundaries.
A lot of times in arguments, Dr. Rosie, you'll go back and forth. Like sometimes I may go back and forth with someone, and it's really because I'm trying to get a full understanding on what they're saying. I may not be really disagreeing with you, but I'm trying to understand, give you my point. You give me some feedback, and then I may get it like 3 or 4 hours later. Okay, you know what? I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah. It's a different.
Don't laugh
it's
at
a
me.
different. Yeah.
Don't laugh at me, Chief.
You're so cute.
But it's a different than having a conversation, you guys, and arguing. That is a different, And I remember once this friend of mine, we would be talking, going back and forth about stuff, and when it's all over, he would say to me, well, honey, we saying the same thing. I thought, why are we talking about it 15 minutes? If we're saying the same thing, So it's important to those boundaries. You need to set it as to how we're going to disagree. Folks, that's important. How we're going to disagree. You need to set boundaries with that. Okay? Dr. Andre, you had a point on that? Is Dr. Andre still with us?
I'm still here.
Did you have a point about that?
About setting the boundaries?
In communication. How you going to, if you're going to have an argument, how you going to have it? When will we end it? Because the minute you say a curse word, the minute you curse, that's true. The minute you curse, we end in this conversation.
I totally agree with that. I think it's important for whatever dynamics the pair is, whether it be a husband, wife, mother, child. I think it's important to really get to know one another and know, what places or what things make a person uncomfortable. And I know personally, like I don't like to argue. I don't like to yell. I'm not a person that uses profanity, so I don't want to be in a heated discussion with somebody who's using profanity. And so you just need to know the individuals that you're in partnership with and know when to back off and be quiet. But a conversation is a conversation when it's two ways, not one way. And so you have to learn to be silent and listen and be an attentive listener. Not like he said earlier, to listen to respond. Like really understand. And it's a technique to having a strategic conversation. And that is, paraphrase. Make sure that you have an understanding of what the person said before you respond. I heard you say this. Is this what you meant when you said this? Like have an understanding, not just responding. So, I think it's important to have boundaries.
Okay, Shawana, our biblical scholar, what did the Bible say about getting an understanding? Shawana? Well, she's always giving us...
She's looking it up.
What does the Bible say about getting an understanding?
Getting an understanding, let me tell you right now what it says in here. I'm going to tell you because, I have to on that one there. Because, it tells you that the man is the head and the woman is the head, and it's the head of Christ, not the head. So, but we'll getting an understanding in the Bible with you have to understand, right?
Doesn't it say
says,
above all things, get an understanding?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it says that. No, it doesn't say
The
anything.
beginning of knowledge is wisdom. Okay, go ahead, Bible scholar, but I know it said something. You need to get an understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me give the number out again.
For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. So that's Proverbs 2:6. And if any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. It just basically says that we have to understand each other. The unfolding of your words give light. It gives understanding to the simple. You just have to open. You know what? Speaking of God, you have to ask God, too. God answers everything. If you have any kind of issues, if you have any kind of disagreements, you can ask. I ask God for everything. I ask God for everything. You have to ask him for clarity, for vision and wisdom when you're having an argument, because we're not supposed to argue. We're supposed to try to speak with one another with common sense. And if we can't, I think we have to stop, take a moment, and then come back to talk again, because there's a lot of things that are said in the heat of an argument. And I believe that if you are having an argument...
people really mean what they say, and they say, well, I'm just saying it just like a drunk, say a bunch of stuff, and then he said it because he was drunk, but people don't believe it. They say, I feel like you said what was in your heart, but because you were drunk, you were able to say it. Now, you say you ask God about everything. Do you ask him about sex? I'm just throwing that in there. You don't have to answer, but...
you ask him about... I do. I say, Lord, I know I'm not supposed to be not...
Oh, you need to stop, Sharon.
If I lose some keys, I ask him to help me find the keys, and he does it. Someone told me they lost something. I said, they told me, they said, my son doesn't have his football helmet. And I said, she said, and I can't find it. It's going to cost me $300. I said, girl, did you take a pause and stop looking and just ask God, because he'll tell you exactly where it is.
Shawana,
you ever do that?
You're telling the truth, because once I couldn't find my keys and I prayed, I said, Lord, show me where these keys. And see, we don't trust him, Keith, because the little voice said to me, they'll go out to the front porch, they're in the hedges. I'm trying to think, how my keys going to get in the hedges? I started not to do it. So I went out there, and sure enough, my son had thrown those keys in the rose bush in the area. It's really something. But you guys, it's really important to set those boundaries in those relationships, and don't forget about with your sisters and brothers. Oh, you have to set boundaries. Look, don't you put on my clothes unless you ask me. Because you know how sisters and brothers, they go in putting your clothes on, answering your phone. You got to set boundaries, because you can fall out with your sibling, and it's important. You need your personal space. If you're sharing room, you need your privacy. So, folks, it's more important now, Dr. Andre, to set boundaries than ever before, because people began to cohabitate. They're living together more now. Parents are in the home with their children. Children are moving back home. Folks, it is so important nowadays more than ever to set boundaries. If I buy my food, we share at home. You can't go in there getting a 16-ounce glass, pouring up my orange juice. I ain't playing. No, really. You need to ask. People need to understand their boundaries. If anything in this refrigerator that you didn't buy, you need to find out who bought it, and is it okay for you to partake of it. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, whatever the rules are, you need to establish what the rules are. So they always say it's better to act than react, okay? Because if you don't, and I know this in my own life, if I don't set boundaries ahead of time, then I'm reacting to the moment. And that means I'm probably going to make a mistake, okay?
Yes, set boundaries when it comes to borrowing items.
Yes.
If you borrow this item, put it back where you got. Set boundaries. If you do this twice, then you're not privileged These are boundaries, you guys.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are not welcome to use these items of mine ever again.
Am I comfortable in losing that item that I'm loaning to you? Okay,
Uh-huh.
so if I'm not, then I probably should be loaning it to you, or should put some kind of stipulations on it, right? Because if you lose it or break it or something like that, that means I shouldn't be upset because I loaned it to you. So
Right.
the thing is, if I'm gonna be upset about it, then I probably shouldn't loan it to you in the first place because I'm gonna get mad about it. It's gonna
Well,
be yeah.
Tim said something important. He said boundary is a two-way street. And he
Yes.
said there are consequences when
Yes.
setting a boundary. Let's
Yes,
talk
it is.
about
There
that.
is.
There are
There is.
consequences. You may decide, well, okay, if that's how you feel,
Okay.
then we don't have to have
Okay.
any dealing. Fine with me.
Like I said,
You may have to decide, are you ready to end the type of relationship
yeah, and you have to be ready.
with mom? Are you
Yeah.
willing, if she said, well, okay, if you don't want
Uh-huh.
me in your business, I'll never bring up nothing else. Now, that's wrong for her to respond
Yeah,
to
but she
you
has a
that
right.
way.
She has a right to do that.
She has the right to do that. But most times when they say that, for you, listen, parents don't mean that. They just be talking. Because you rejecting the information, the advice. But don't ever ask me anything else. I'm done with it, honey. Let him do what he want to do. I'm through. I'm done. I wash my hands. Don't believe that.
Well, you
Don't
might not believe it, but you have to be able. If you're gonna stay, you have to be willing to live with it. So, if you're gonna set a boundary, you got to be willing to live with the consequences, pro or con.
Most women are not. Am I right, Shawana? I mean, they say a lot of things, but it's important to.
Then it's not a boundary.
Well, it is in a way. In other words, you letting them know. In other words, the expectation. Boundary is also part of what I expect. Expectation. You know.
Okay.
So we do need to be careful about the consequence that we give to people when they go beyond our boundary. Let's put it like that.
You
we
know
need
what
to be careful about the consequences that you give them when they go outside of the boundaries that's been set up. Now, you can come back and renegotiate it because you may have set up a boundary that's really impossible or it's kind of hard to deal with. So we need to look at that too.
Yeah, the great John Wooden said when he first started coaching, right? He said, "I made a lot of rules and gave few suggestions." Right? As he got older and wiser, he said, "Now I make a lot of suggestions, only a few rules, but I don't break those rules for anybody."
Okay.
Most of the things I give out are suggestions, okay, not rules or boundaries. My boundaries are firm, okay, but there's only a few of them, and the rest are just arbitrary or suggestions. But the thing is, when I give you the boundary up front, those are firm, okay. Do not, okay. Those are called deal breakers, as they say.
But Tim was really right when we set in boundaries.
Yes,
we need to think about the consequences.
Consequences, yeah.
Yeah. So those who listen, I want you to think about the consequences.
And I'm gonna cry when I leave you too.
Sometimes you have to change your mind.
You got that, Shawana, huh?
Yeah. I got it. Situation can make you rethink the boundaries that you have set too.
It should. Okay? Then it's not a firm boundary if it makes you rethink.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to. Women do.
You know what, Dr. Rosie? I have a good Bible verse that my mom and my dad, my stepfather had said in there when they got married. It was 1 Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 4-7. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and also always perseveres.
You know, that needs to be put up in the bedroom, on the refrigerator. That verse really is something that people need to really take a look at, what love really does. When it said does not hold grudge, in other words, I am not going to pay you back for what you did 20 years ago. I just been waiting. I've been laying low like somebody with a gun waiting on you to come down the road on the horse so they can shoot you. That's how deep some people go with that. I'm just waiting to pay you back. I'm waiting to see you fall so I can remind you that I told you not to do that. Folks, that's not love. We have something on the board. Can you read it, Keith?
Okay. Can somebody please talk about relationship boundaries and social media postings? And reality shows, most of this information is volunteered and not requested. Okay, remember, social media and shows are just that, shows. Okay, it's not real. Okay, a lot of that stuff is actually projection. People wish they could do it in real life, but they don't. Okay.
And the boundaries should be too with your family and friends. If I'm out someplace and you're making pictures, you need to set boundaries as to what you are going to, what picture you're going to allow people to take, and let them know that you don't want them posting anything about you on social media. When you see people taking pictures, you need to really intervene, because you'd be surprised what they would do. You just at a birthday party or whatever, wherever you are, and people are taking pictures. If you don't want it all over Facebook and the internet, you really better intervene, because the person may think it's okay. So in every aspect of our life, we really need to set boundaries. Someone, I think there's a second post there.
It says, a drunk is using a liquid courage to speak his truth. I don't know what that means.
Remember when I said sometimes people say things, they say,
Oh, yeah.
I was intoxicated.
Okay,
So some people believe that whatever you say when you're drunk is really what's in your heart, and you got the nerve to say it.
Yeah.
But they always say, I didn't mean that, I was drinking. So what he's saying that, no, he's saying whatever you hear from the mouth of a drunk is what he was thinking. It's really from his heart.
Yeah, because it's unfiltered. It slips past the mask that people put up.
Well, this show is going to air again tonight, but at 6 o'clock, I believe. So you really have to set boundaries with your friends. Most people never think about it. I mean, relationship folks become bankrupt because we do not set boundaries. If you have friends, I want you right now is to start looking at what are some of the boundaries that I have for my friends. What are some of the boundaries I have for my parents? You have never thought about it, but as of today, I want you to go and sit down and think about the boundaries that you need to set for your parents, for your children, for your friends, because this is what bankrupt relationships. That's why there's so many divorces, because there was we call it unrealistic expectation. But I like for us to put it in the context. What are the boundaries that we set when we went into these relationships, when we got married? That's why I am writing some new vows, marriage vows, because I'm tired of folks lying up there, okay? We need to write some more practical vows for people who get married that they feel comfortable with. Do you think it's time for some new vows?
I think it's time for people to actually take their old vows seriously. That's what I think.
You think so?
Yes.
I don't think so. I think there need to be some new ones.
You know what I like, Dr. Rosie?
Mm-hmm.
What?
I like when people are married that they renew their vows every 10 years and state the new things every 10 years. You know, you renew the vows, you renew your promises. Mm-hmm. I think it's absolutely amazing and wonderful because you're renewing your promises to each other. And sometimes you have added promises that you have now because you've grown to really know that individual. So I think when you renew that vows, you really renew a commitment to one another, to stand by one another.
You think the old vows are good?
Yeah.
The old vows are good and the new vows are good. I think you should always write your own vows of what you want to do, and then that person understands you.
I think, that's what I'm talking about. You should talk to the couple, and then you should write out their vows as to what they're committing to do with each other. That's why I'm going with that, okay? Because some people are not going to be there for sickness and health, for death, for poor, or whatever. Some people are not going to do it, okay?
Okay, well, that should be discussed well before you even get to the altar.
That's why they need to have their own commitment. They need to have their own vows that they are vowing to each other.
Maybe when
because you know what it said to have and to have no other. How many? Don't they repeat that?
Yeah.
Isn't that in the vows? Then how come you got a woman on the side? Why you got a man on the side? Maybe you
Yeah.
just need to leave that out. Don't mention it.
Well, you guys have to discuss it. You
Well,
know,
that's
you're
what
not
I'm
going to
saying.
mention it. If you're not going to mention that, you need to discuss that because you know the majority of the time you do want the person to be honest with you. You know, so
the vows are affirmation before God and your family. Okay, to be held to a certain standard.
Right.
That's what
to
it's there
have
for.
it to hold from this
To
day
have it
forward.
forth. Yeah. So
But
when you
I
don't
do
do it,
think for
your family
better
comes
or
and
for
says,
worse.
Yeah, for better, for worse.
For better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. I think in sickness and in health is probably the most important one because some people leave when they get sick. They want to go. They're like, I'm out of here. No,
To
you
have,
said
to
in
have, and to
sickness
hold, and to
and
have
in
no,
health.
and to have no other. They need to take
Okay.
that out. Okay.
Yeah.
Do they have that in there? And to have no other? I don't think they have that.
Yeah,
in there.
they've altered the vows, but thing is that I think the
I
vow.
mean, wait, here, let me look it up.
I think the vows should be said during the proposal.
It says, I take you to be my wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward for better or worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do us part. But I don't see in there, I pledge you my faith. But it doesn't say not to cheat.
See that?
To have and to hold. That means no. That's what means not cheating.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that what that means?
Mm-hmm.
Shawana tried to get a
have and to
loophole.
hold.
It didn't say to share.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Okay,
but folks, what I want you to do, this show is going to re-air at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's innerlightradio.com, INNER. It will also be on my Facebook channel, Dr. Rosie Facebook channel. You can go there, folks, and listen to all the archive shows that we have done. And you want to send your friends there because this is the information you don't get on Channel 2, Channel 5. We're talking about issues that impact our lives on a daily basis. That's what we do. So you want to go to YouTube. You want to go to YouTube and listen at the archive shows. It is important. But as you go, we want you to understand, folks, it's time for you to set boundaries. If you want to be mentally healthy, telling you, if you don't set boundaries, it can really cause you to be on overload. Because then you feel like somebody's always doing you in. Somebody's always doing something to you. Well, you never set boundaries. You never said that you don't like this. You never said that you don't want me to do this. So why are you upset, Keith, when I am doing this? Why are you upset? Because I choose not to bring and to serve you and your friends your liquor or your punch or whatever when you're having your ball game. Why haven't you not said to me when we are doing our game, don't ask me to come and do this or that? Why haven't you said that to me? You guys?
In other words, basically, and this is something I tell guys, okay? If you want a woman that does a certain thing, a certain job, pick that woman that does that thing, okay? Don't expect her to do it. If she's not trained to do it, she's probably not going to do it, right? So if she's not trained to do it, she's not the wife that you want, don't pick her, okay?
Absolutely. Okay, we got a last caller. Caller, go ahead. Give us your name and what you have to say. Go ahead, caller. Okay, we have a new caller on hold, so maybe they they hung up. But it is important. We talk about setting boundaries. You need to say now, when me and my fellas over, we watching the game, don't ask me to come and move this or do that. Wait until it's over. If it's not an emergency. I mean, this sounds simple, but little stuff like this can lead to when you get into bed that night, don't you touch me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Little stuff like that because you're mad because I didn't serve you and the boys when you guys were hoo-haw with your game.
Okay.
Or I'm angry because you asking me to act as I'm the waitress when you have your friends over to listen to the game. So let's just get it clear.
Okay. Or don't fill up your tank when you go to the gas station. Wash your own car. All that kind of stuff. Okay, it goes both ways.
Absolutely. That's what Tim was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at the consequence, you guys, for the environment that we set up, but make sure that it protects your mental health, whatever the consequence.
Yeah.
If my mental health is not shattered or is intact, I can deal. One thing about life, you're going to have to deal with some consequence. There's going to be consequence to almost any action you take.
Every action has a consequence. Yes, it does.
Are they healthy? Are they detrimental?
Yes.
So check out the consequences you may have. Folks, it's 11 o'clock. The clock is on the wall. Shawana has given us her biblical intake. She's our biblical scholar. We have to keep this thing in perspective. And Keith, he just the devil. He's on one side.
In God we trust.
And I will cry over you.
We got to put God in everything.
Keith said he will cry over you. He said he will cry over you. He said he'll pull a rock and hide his hand, but he will cry.
The long, slow walk and that tear, the Denzel tear.
You guys have a great day as you go on your way. May you be blessed.